So on behalf of Artists and Activists United for Peace, we want to present Fred Hull with the Lifetime Revolutionary Award for his steadfast commitment to social justice and uncompromising artistic expression. From your comrades, Artists and Activists United for Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Jersey City Peace Movement, Black Wax, Nana, Tatiana, Sean. I listened very carefully to everything that was said tonight. The revolutionary Jesus Christ was assassinated by the Roman Empire. That empire began its collapse by the end of the 3rd century. And in 1712, the Roman Empire became the Roman Catholic Church, and then proceeded to colonize most of the world. Make no mistake, the American Empire is done. I don't use the word crisis. Crisis infers that this is cyclical. This is not a cycle that will have a recovery. This is a collapse. Hopefully it won't take 4 centuries like the Roman Empire. The American Empire achieved its apex for 30 years from the end of World War II, 1945, when it effectively defeated the entire world, including the former colonial powers, to 1975 when it was defeated by the Vietnamese National Liberation Front, the oil-producing states of OPEC, and its own internal hemorrhaging. Those of us who are old enough remember the New York City energy blackout. Energy couldn't be delivered to the financial capital of Western capital. American capitalism is done. The question is, what do we replace it with? Now, I'm a proud socialist. I'm a revolutionary socialist. I believe that socialist revolution is the only solution. But it cannot be the socialist revolution or done by the socialists of the 20th century. It has to be a different kind of socialism with different kinds of socialists. What do I mean? It must be a socialism of the following concepts. It must be matriarchal. It must be Afro-Asian. It must be indigenous-centric. And it must be Luddite. Let me explain. What is matriarchy? This is patriarchy. Women bear 100% of the world's children. They grow 70% of the world's food. They do 60% of the world's work. They earn 10% of the world's income. And they own less than 1% of the world's property. That is patriarchy. Matriarchy is not what a lot of, perplexed, to be generous, socialists would accuse me of being women oppressing men. Indeed, it's the opposite of patriarchy. 3 characteristics would make the opposite of patriarchy. The abolition of gender. This is not feminism. This is the abolition of all social distinctions and social divisions. Mental manual labor, city, countryside, men, women. It's the abolition of gender. Second, it is the rightful return to the producers, the fruits of their labor. That's the ultimate social justice. Those who raise everybody, those who grow most of the food, who do most of the work, albeit unpaid, unless 1% of the world's property, that's the return. Third, the hardest concept to deal with. It is the re-socialization of men to become mothers. Patriarchy is the rule of the father. Matriarchy is the rule of the mother. Everyone should be a mother. Not a biological identity, but a social identity in terms of what our responsibility is to humanity and to the planet. Am I clear? Third thing, Afro-Asian. The 2 biggest continents of the world, Africa and Asia. The 2 largest populations of the world, Africa and Asia. The 2 longest histories, social histories on this planet. Africa, and Asia. Fact, indigenous-centric. When Marx and Engels developed their view of communism, if you really truly understand the origin of the family property, the state, communism was modeled upon the Iroquois Confederacy, the greatest democracy this planet has ever seen, that stretched from Nova Scotia to what is now the Dakotas down to Virginia, in which every person had inalienable rights that was preserved, protected, designated by the clan mother. The chiefs were picked by the clan mother. There was a seventh generation consciousness, meaning that the actions of either the individual or the group had to look 7 generations forward for its consequences. And lastly, there was no word for I or me in the Iroquois language, indigenous centrism. Lastly, Luddite or Luddism. I'm an aspiring Luddite. We can only be that as long as the industrial capitalist matrix stands. Luddism, contrary to its distortion, stereotypic distortion, meaning anti-technology, is not that. It's against all technology that is harmful to people or to the planet. How do we decide? Well, we're going to have to apply the first 3 principles to decide. The American empire, in terms of its consumption and waste, cannot be the model for the whole world. We would need 4 Earths just to sustain the garbage that this country alone produces. That is not a model at all. So socialist revolution cannot be continuation of industrialism or technocentrism. It means extreme, as Malcolm X says, revolution is extremism. It means an extreme view of what we understand to be human relations and human production. That cannot be the continuation of what we have. What we have is toxic. There's no coincidence as to why the richest countries in the world have the highest cancer rates. Cancer is a relatively modern disease. Yes, the pharaohs died of cancer because there was smoke, incense, cooked foods, grilled foods, and so forth. Those are carcinogens. But the amplification and intensification of carcinogens is a product of industrial toxicity, social and physical. Capitalism is the cancer for the planet, for Mother Earth. Cancer is the capitalist toxicity for the individual. That is what we're facing. We need an imagination that does not just rubber stamp the models and the history of the past. In fact, we need to drop a lot of that baggage. We need to have a revolutionary imagination, I feel, that begins to understand that the impossible is what we need to strive for. After all, the great Sun Ra said this: everything possible has been tried and nothing has changed. What we truly need is the impossible. So I thank you, and I hope that we can all be part of this journey to the impossible.